Hello, welcome to my channel, Openly Broken, where I discuss mental health in the African American community. My name is Candace Smith, and today I'm going to be discussing one of my latest blog posts, Daddy Issues. This was a three-part series. I didn't know that it would turn into that. Whenever I'm beginning to write my blog posts, I am writing from whatever current state I'm in. There's not a lot of pre planning. It's basically me. I knew that 2018 I was going to be dealing with myself internally. And I don't know if you guys are, but I'm still trying to stay focused on my New Year's resolutions. And one of the main things that I said I would do this year is focus on Candace inside. Because every year I would make these resolutions and they would all be concerning things dealing with my weight or job or success or love or whatever. But this year, I really wanted to focus on myself internally, focus on loving myself, focus on discovering who I am. So I'm really, really, really trying to deal with a lot of internal things. And so, um, one day I was thinking about relationships and I was thinking about what I've learned throughout life and what do I know, what I've been taught, what do I see. Just trying to get to the bottom of things, and it just brought me back. It brought me back to when I was growing up, and I just began to write from there, and it really just poured out. Everything really came from my heart, and I didn't know that what I was going to write was going to be titled Daddy Issues. It was just me writing. I started off saying we've been preparing for relationships, love, marriage, kids, family, or the lack thereof our entire lives, and that's very true. Everything we've seen growing up has prepared us for how we're going to be in relationships. So let's examine what life has taught me about love. And from there, I went into talking about, I don't even know why it came out that way, but I immediately thought about my parents and their divorce. That's one of the earliest memories that I have of them together because I was 5 at the time, and it was a very big deal. So immediately that's where my mind went, which says a lot about what I feel about love and relationships. I see ending, honestly. That's what I see. So that's where it took me, and I went down memory lane. And normally, I'll be very honest, normally if I'm, in one of these little thinkative moods where I'm just thinking, I stop right there. I don't allow myself to continue down that path because it's very painful. It's not pleasant. So, I don't usually dwell on those things. But since I've decided to work on myself, I said, okay, I have to deal with these things. So let me just investigate further. And so during the course of me writing, I just kept going. I just, started thinking about that first memory that came to my mind, which was air quotes the talk that my parents gave me, my brother, and my sister, talking about the ending of their marriage. And so I kind of go into detail about that. How we were gathered in my sister's room, and I remember sitting on the floor and just listening to them, talk to us about how things are going to change in our life, and in our family. And even though I was the youngest, I really understood. I really did. I understood the feeling of it, it was very sad. It was a new sad for me because before, sad meant maybe I didn't get what I want that day or didn't get my way or something like that. That was sad. Maybe I fell and hurt myself. That was sad. Maybe I didn't get the toy I wanted. Things like that. That was sad. But that day, sad was redefined. It was redefined for me. So that was like a very big moment, and I do have moment memories before that of my family being together, and I do love those memories. Those are the memories that I dwell on, and I really try to keep as present as possible in my mind of times that we were all together. And my dad was very fun and loving and like just a fun guy, like we would play games around the house, just little silly stuff. Like he would, have water guns and it would be the girls against the boys. And I remember beach days. I remember my parents like laughing and playing, amongst themselves, and doing things that is kind of like grown up stuff, but you there and they feel like maybe you don't understand or know, but I got the sense of like, just how their relationship was. And during the times that I saw when it was good, which that's all I really saw. I didn't really see or hear them argue, ever. Even after they were divorced, I don't have a lot of memories of them. I have memories of them disagreeing, but not of them like arguing and cussing each other out and stuff like that. So I'm grateful for that or whatever. I always got the sense that, they were like cordial and I guess okay with each other, maybe not happy with everything, but okay with each other after the divorce or whatever. So anyway, I went on to start talking about my memories of, things being a mixture of good, and then after the divorce, things not being so good. Um I say I have the memories of life after the divorce, and unfortunately, they've left a bigger impression on my heart. I remember the emptiness of our house after my dad was gone. It was never the same. I was never the same. Seeing him in a different setting was hard. I don't think I ever got used to it, but I accepted it because I had to. And it's those words are just very true. I didn't have to really edit a lot of this because it just straight came from my heart, and these was just my truest and honest feelings. And I decided that I was not going to censor myself. I decided that I was not going to change anything. Whatever came out is what I was going to publish in my blog because I just wanted to get it out. I wanted to get it out. Everything that has been trapped inside of my mind and in my heart all this time. I just wanted to have a space where I could express it. And honestly, even this I have never even written about. So this was a big first for me, but the response that I got was overwhelming. Like this was one of the biggest blog posts that I put out that got so much feedback and so many views. And probably because of the title, maybe because of the content. It just is what it is. So yeah, it was a big difference after my dad moved out and we continued to live in the house that I knew as home. Yeah, there was definitely a difference. It's just really difficult for me to talk about and kind of express in words um the emptiness that I felt, like something wasn't right, like something was missing, and that never changed. It didn't go back. It didn't, oh, we moved to another house so now things feel better. It just was never ever the same. And I definitely, even at the age that I am now, I still can recognize the difference. I can still recognize the difference of me, Candace, pre that moment, and Candace post that moment or whatever. So, but such is life, and you gotta go on. So that's what I did. I went on living, just with a knowing that things were different, and a knowing of the emptiness that I felt, but not really having the space to express it. And that's one of the main things that I want to talk about, because I didn't really get into that in this post. I didn't really get the opportunity to talk about the lack of opportunity that I had to be able to express these things. And I feel like that was one of the major things that hindered me from getting closure and being able to move forward in life. And I don't know. I don't know what else. I know definitely that was needed. It's always needed. And now that I know these things is the reason why I feel the need to like go back and close some doors that were left open, that should not have been left open in my life. And so I definitely am taking my own advice with dealing with my kids, because I don't, their fathers don't live with me. And so I do talk to them and ask them how they feel about certain things, and just giving them the opportunity to express it. I know that does not make up for it, but I just want them to know that the line of communication is open for them to express how they feel, and have an opportunity to say they don't like it. They, just whatever, because, back in the day, kids just didn't get a lot of say so. It's just like whatever is going on, you got to deal with it. Hey, this is what it is, and it's no room for like the back talking. It's no room for, you saying whatever, or expressing really how you feel, which is sad, and it's kind of sort of still that way in the black community, and it shouldn't be that way. A lot of times we may look at things, when children do things, as talking back, or being disrespectful. And a lot of times, kids, children, teens, they need the opportunity and the space to express their feelings, even if they're not pleasant towards the parent. Not saying being disrespectful, but definitely the opportunity to say they're unhappy, or, they're sad, just to express the natural emotions that every human being feels or experiences, especially going through life. Things are not always great, and we need a space to be able to express that and say how we're truly feeling. And because not being able to do that affects us as we grow up, and that's one thing that I've definitely seen in my life, in my relationships all the way around, is when certain issues or conflict, or times when it's like really important to communicate certain things, I've been unable to do that. or unable, or just not really knowing how to do it. So it's just like, because I wasn't able to do it then, or didn't get taught, or didn't see people properly communicating certain things, I never learned. So to a certain extent, I'm still at of maybe 5 year old, 6 year old, whatever level of like knowing how to express certain things when it's really bad. And that's not good. So I am having to like go back to relearn so much when it comes to communication, especially during high traumatic times when things are really traumatizing. And I've noticed it in my life, just thinking and looking back, like when things get really tough, I really just shut down, or just kind of fade away, want to disappear, whatever you want to say, because I just don't really know what else to do. I don't really know what else to do, or how to say, hey, you hurt me, or this really hurt me. It just, instead, I would just rather, go about my business, go to my corner, maybe lick my own wounds, in my own way, instead of like communicating and hashing it out. So, this process is not just the opportunity to, go down memory lane. That's not even the real purpose. That is a part of the process. I have to do that so that I can see where did things take a left turn, where did I go wrong, in order to correct it and learn, like, okay, when these things happen, when these situations come up, because life is life, we talk about it, we deal with it, we communicate, we express, how we feel. And, no matter how bad it is, no matter how it may make the other person feel, you're okay. You have the right to express how you feel. You have the right to cry about it. You have the right to be upset about it. You have the right to be angry. You don't have to be disrespectful, or, have just this big blow up or whatever. You don't have to do that. You can just say, I don't like how you did X, Y, and Z. This made me feel like this. And so I know maybe for some people that may seem like common knowledge, but it just hasn't been for me. It seemed like something that works for other people, but not necessarily something that's an option for me. So that's what this process has been about. And I talked further about how, of course, seeing my dad with another woman, and just the whole ordeal of how their marriage ended and things like that. Growing up, I've gotten bits and pieces of information, and my father passed away when I was young. So I never really had the opportunity to have an adult discussion with him. You know, Talking to him as an adult is very different than, of course, talking as a child, because I only understood things from a child's perspective at that time. So it was not a lot of questions that I had. It was just a lot of me accepting whatever the situation was. However, I did have opportunities to learn certain things from my mom, and just throughout the years or whatever. And even though I learned a lot of things as an adult, revisiting them now is different. It's very different. Just because I have a little bit more knowledge and self awareness, awareness of um what's right and what's wrong. A lot of times, we look to our parents and certain adult figures, thinking that they know what's best, they know what's right, and that's not always true. So, now that I have the opportunity to learn, better ways of doing things, I can look back at this situation with different eyes and a different level of understanding, and being able to come to terms with things, because during that time it was just information given to me. It was not anything that I felt like affected me. Of course it was, but at that time I didn't feel like it affected me at all. So, therefore it was just information that I just took in and stored and didn't really even think about. So, but a lot of my first blog post was me going back, and just revisiting a lot. And I kind of close things out by saying, as a woman, I feel a little betrayed by my father. He made choices and decisions that has greatly affected the generations of his seeds. And when I wrote that sentence, I was thinking about how, his choice affected me, which has now affected, my kids, because I have grown up just um different. Yeah, just different. I know that the Candace that I was then, ceased to exist, and it changed. It changed after the divorce, and it changed after his death, and you just, once you've gone through certain things, it's no way that you can be the same person. There are just things in life that you go through that just changes you forever. Like, it's no way you can look at life the same way. And no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I told myself, oh, you're okay or whatever I had to tell myself to get through certain moments, I knew that wasn't true. And I just wish that I knew how to move forward with where I was in life, instead of replaying and recircling and rewinding and just reliving the same thing over and over and over again, trying to get back to who I was, when it's just, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I couldn't be that person anymore. So, um it's taken me a very long time to, wow, to recognize that, and to really truly in my heart be okay with it, you know. Yeah. And I definitely feel like going through this process has given me closure that was definitely needed. I needed every bit of this process. So, we all do, and that's the point. I don't think we totally get how big of a deal it is to bring babies into this world. We are not prepared for the responsibility of it all, the sacrifices of giving up what you might really, really want for the greater good, which is family. I know I wasn't. I was broken but reproductive. Now all I can do is pray. Pray really hard that, um the one scripture I've heard all my life is true, Romans 8:28, which is all things will work together. Um and I was like in tears writing this last part, because I felt so hopeless. I felt so hopeless. I felt the weight of everything. I allowed myself to feel the weight of everything, when before I have not done that. That's a very scary thing. It's a very scary place for me, because I've dealt with depression and stuff like that, so I really have to try to keep myself upbeat and uplifted and positive just because I know being in a certain place is just not healthy, it's not good, and it's hard to get out of it. So I really did have to like call on my spiritual counselor. I had to contact another counselor, and they helped me really get through these weeks that I was focused on this. I did. I needed help, and that's okay, especially for dealing with certain things. It is okay to need help. A lot of times in the black community in the past, we have relied on family, we've relied on church, we've relied on community, friendships, things like that to get us through mentally. And for a lot of people, that's still what people rely on. They rely on, their family that they can talk to, siblings, mothers, grandmothers, church members, pastors, just different people in the community, but this it's not always available for everybody. And so we do need to make sure that we know there's other options, that there are counselors, therapists, people like that that are around, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing, to like look down upon yourself about. So, I'm so grateful to have had those people to rely on during this time, because they really helped me, put things into perspective, and to keep the goal and the focus, keep my focus on what the goal was. And that was to get through this, to discover what I needed to discover in order to move on and to have closure. So I was very appreciative of it, because at this moment when I closed out the first post, normally when I'm writing, doing blog posts, I end with I have closure. I get somewhere. I don't know how I get there. I don't ever know how I'm gonna get there, but I get there. And I was not there. So that's why this ended up being like three different posts, and I spent 3 weeks really, really dealing with this, and this first week was the hardest, because I basically sobbed every day, multiple times a day. I would just be shoulder shaking, sobbing, like, and that I don't normally do. I don't normally just sob, just thinking about the past and stuff. I may get sad, but I don't just, really just cry and cry and cry. But I needed it. I needed all of that to happen, and I'm glad that it happened. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel shame about it. I don't feel no type of way, but a big weight lifted off my shoulders. I feel relieved. I feel light. That is something, this whole thing is something that I've been carrying for a very, very long time. So it just felt good to get it out. And so I ended this first segment, and I'm going to end this video. Go to www.openlybroken.com. You can check it out. Daddy Issues, the first post. And I actually did a collaboration with a young lady I met off of Instagram, and her name is Off Mute. So and I love her name. It's Off Mute. So you can look her up on YouTube. But we did that. It's at off underscore mute. So OFF_MUTE. Check her out on Instagram, and she also has a blog. And we just recognized that we were kind of in the same place, dealing and talking about the same things. So she shared her thoughts on her blog and put a little excerpt of mine, and I did the same thing. And so therefore, when you go to my blog, www.openlybroken.com, the first thing that you'll read is a excerpt, a little poem from her post, where she was dealing with daddy issues, and just sharing her thoughts, because one thing I definitely recognize, just talking to different people and collaborating with different women, was that we all have a different way of dealing with things, and this subject is no different. My issues may not look like the same as yours, so I really couldn't speak for a lot of people in this. I had to really take the front line. I That's why even in my first post I used my personal pictures. It just like pulls at my heart every time I see my dad's picture, on my post or whatever. It just really pulls at me. But I had to stand in the front of this. I couldn't hide behind a blog post and words and stuff. Like, this is just all me, going through the process of, you know, being broken, admitting that I'm broken, and like trying to find a way out of the brokenness. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why my blog is called Openly Broken. Like, I'm no longer trying to hide it. I don't celebrate it at all. I just want